Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stoic Inspire channel. In today's video, we're diving into a question that's probably crossed your mind at least once. Why do they come back after rejecting you? It's confusing, frustrating, and sometimes even a little hurtful when someone walks away, only to return later. But what's really going on in their minds? Why do they come back after pushing you away? Well, stick around because we're going to break down the key reasons behind this and help you understand what might be happening behind the scenes. So, let's get into it and uncover the mystery together. Number 1 point. Realization of what they lost. Rejection. It's one of the most painful experiences in a relationship, especially when the person you care about, someone you deeply trust, decides to walk away. It leaves you questioning what went wrong, wondering if you did something to drive them away, and struggling to make sense of the situation. But here's something that may surprise you. Sometimes rejection isn't the end of the story. In fact, there are times when the person who rejected you may come back. And understanding why this happens can be crucial in processing your emotions, moving forward, and making better choices in future relationships. One of the most common reasons someone comes back after rejecting you is the realization of what they've lost. When someone walks away from a relationship, it often isn't because they don't care about you. Instead, it's because they're caught up in their own confusion, fear, or uncertainty. They might believe that they need space or that they're not ready for commitment, but after some time and distance, the absence of your love and presence starts to weigh heavily on them. This realization hits hard, sometimes even harder than they anticipated. Initially, when someone rejects you, it may feel like they've made up their mind, that there's no room for reconsideration. But the truth is, rejection can sometimes be a temporary decision driven by emotions, external factors, or personal struggles that cloud their judgment. When the dust settles and they've had time to process their own feelings, they begin to see things clearly. They start to realize what they've lost in the moment of their hasty rejection. This realization doesn't happen overnight. It builds gradually as they reflect on the time spent apart, the emotional connection they once had, and the absence of the comfort you brought into their life. When someone is in the midst of rejecting you, they often fail to understand the depth of the bond you shared. In the heat of the moment, they might be focused on their own issues, fears, or insecurities, which can cloud their perception of the relationship. However, after some time apart, when they start to experience life without you, they begin to miss the little things that made the relationship so special. They start remembering the laughter you shared, the way you supported each other, and the dreams you once talked about. They realize how much of their happiness was tied to you and how different things feel without you by their side. This awareness can come from simple, mundane moments, like hearing a song that reminds them of you, seeing something you both enjoyed, or even encountering a situation where they wish you were there. And it's in these moments that the realization of what they've lost hits them harder than they expected. Furthermore, some people only come to appreciate what they had once they're faced with the reality of being without it. They may find themselves comparing other relationships, trying to fill the void, or seeking out connections with others that just don't measure up to what they had with you. It's only when they begin to experience these disappointments that they start to recognize the depth of their feelings for you. Their previous rejection may have been influenced by external pressures or internal conflicts that had nothing to do with you as a person. Maybe they felt they weren't ready for a serious commitment, or perhaps they were afraid of getting hurt again. But after reflecting on their life without you, they come to realize that no matter how much they try to distract themselves, they can't find a love that matches the one they had with you. The absence of your presence in their daily life becomes a constant reminder of the connection they once shared. It becomes undeniable that they took something valuable for granted, and now they have to deal with the consequences. This moment of clarity can be both humbling and frustrating for them. They start to see how much they've lost, how much you gave them, and how your absence has left a void in their life that they can't fill. It's in this realization that the idea of coming back becomes more appealing. They might reach out to you, not because they expect everything to fall back into place immediately, but because they now understand that they've lost someone truly special, someone who was willing to give them the kind of love and support they may never find again. So, if someone has rejected you and eventually comes back, it's often because they've come to the painful understanding that they made a mistake, that they didn't fully recognize the value of what you brought into their life until it was gone. Rejection doesn't always mean the end of the story. and sometimes it takes distance for someone to understand what they had. It's important to remember that their realization doesn't necessarily erase the pain of their rejection or make the past any easier to bear. But it does offer a chance for new beginnings, as long as both people are willing to approach the situation with honesty, openness, and a mutual understanding of the past. Sometimes, love is about learning from our mistakes and appreciating what we have when we still have it. And when someone comes back after rejecting you, it might be because they finally realized how truly valuable you are and how deeply they miss you in their life. Number 2 point: nostalgia and memories. It's a confusing feeling when someone who once rejected you comes back into your life. You might wonder why they would return after pushing you away. One powerful reason is nostalgia. Memories have a unique way of resurfacing over time, pulling people back to what once felt right, even if they didn't fully appreciate it at the time. The moments you shared, the laughter, the comfort, and the deep connection, all these things can begin to feel irreplaceable as time passes. When they step away from the relationship, they may not realize what they were leaving behind, but eventually the memories become vivid, too vivid to ignore. Over time, as they move on with life, new experiences can't replicate the emotional depth they once had with you. They might find themselves comparing every new relationship, every new person, to what they had with you. No one else quite measures up. And eventually, that longing for the past grows. It's not always about the relationship itself, but the comfort and security you provided. Nostalgia can make them forget the reasons why things ended, and instead, they remember only the good times, the feelings that were easy and familiar. When they come back, it's often driven by that sense of loss. They miss the warmth, the laughter, the bond you shared, and even if they don't fully understand it, they find themselves reaching out to you. However, it's important to remember that nostalgia doesn't always mean they're ready to fix things. Sometimes it's simply a longing for a time when they felt happy and safe. It's crucial to evaluate if what they're coming back for is real or just a desire to recapture something that might not be there anymore. In the end, nostalgia plays a huge role in why someone might come back after rejecting you. The memories shared can have a magnetic pull, bringing them back to something they once had. But remember, while the past can be comforting, true growth and happiness come from understanding whether the relationship can truly move forward, or if it's just the pull of old memories keeping them close. Number 3 point: emotional maturity or growth. Rejection is never easy, especially when someone you care about pushes you away. But what happens when they come back after some time? It's confusing, right? You may wonder what changed. One of the main reasons someone might return after rejecting you is emotional maturity or growth. Sometimes people aren't emotionally ready for a relationship when it first starts. They may have rejected you due to their own insecurities, fears, or personal struggles that they couldn't deal with at the time. As time passes, they may have done the emotional work to heal, understand themselves better, and grow from their past mistakes. They begin to see the value in the relationship that they once rejected, recognizing that their feelings for you were real, but that they weren't in the right place to handle them. Their emotional maturity allows them to come back with a clearer, more honest perspective. They've learned that love is about vulnerability, trust, and being ready to give themselves fully to another person. It's not that they didn't care for you before, they just weren't ready to show it in a healthy way. When they come back, it's often because they've realized that what they pushed away was something meaningful, something worth fighting for. Their return is not about regret, but about growth, both personally and emotionally, allowing them to finally offer you the love you deserve. So, when someone returns after rejecting you, it might be a sign that they've matured emotionally, understood their own shortcomings, and now feel ready to build a future with you. Their return is a reflection of growth, not just in their feelings for you, but in their ability to give and receive love in a more meaningful way. Number 4 point: feeling of regret or guilt. Have you ever experienced the painful sting of rejection, only for the person who turned you down to come back into your life later on? It's a confusing and often frustrating situation, one that leaves you questioning their intentions. Why do they come back? What has changed? If you've been in this situation, you're not alone. Rejection can feel like the end, but sometimes it's just the beginning of a different kind of emotional journey. In this video, we're going to explore why someone may return after rejecting you, starting with one of the most common reasons: the feeling of regret or guilt. It's a feeling that many people experience after rejecting someone, and it often catches them off guard. You see, the initial rejection might come from a place of uncertainty, fear, or even external circumstances. But over time, when they look back on the situation, they may begin to realize that their decision wasn't the right one, and the feeling of regret starts to creep in. When someone rejects you, it's often not a reflection of you as a person, but rather their own fears, insecurities, or emotional struggles. They may not have been ready for the relationship, or they could have been afraid of getting hurt. They might have even rejected you because they were dealing with personal issues that prevented them from being open to love or connection. However, as time passes and they reflect on the decision, the weight of their actions can start to weigh on them. They begin to feel the guilt of turning away someone who genuinely cared for them. The connection they once brushed aside suddenly seems much more significant, and they start to realize that they made a mistake. This guilt is often powerful, especially if they realize they hurt you in the process, even unintentionally. It can lead to self-reflection, where they question their own behavior, the reasons behind their rejection, and whether they truly made the right choice. It's this guilt that often leads them to reach out, hoping for a chance to make things right, to apologize, or simply to see if there's a second chance. The feeling of regret can be subtle at first. They might start thinking about how you were there for them when others weren't, or how they took your feelings for granted. Maybe they realize that the connection they rejected was something they now crave, or they simply miss the companionship and understanding you once shared. Guilt often leads people to second-guess their decisions, especially if they're left with a lingering sense of what could have been. It's not that they necessarily want to rekindle the relationship or get back together immediately. It's often more about wanting to correct what they now perceive as a mistake, to apologize for what they did wrong. This sense of regret can drive them to reach out, hoping to get a chance to make amends, to reopen the door they once closed. In the end, the feeling of regret or guilt is just one of the many complex emotions that can prompt someone to come back into your life after rejecting you. It shows that people are not always as certain about their decisions as they might seem in the moment. Sometimes time gives them a clearer perspective on what they lost, and the guilt of turning you away starts to outweigh the reasons they rejected you in the first place. However, it's important to be cautious when they come back. Just because someone feels regret or guilt doesn't necessarily mean they're ready for the kind of relationship you deserve. It's essential to listen to your heart and make sure that their return is based on genuine reflection, not just a temporary emotional impulse. If they truly understand the impact of their actions and are willing to show you respect and commitment, then it could be worth exploring what comes next. But remember, you deserve someone who sees your worth from the start, not just after realizing what they've lost. Take your time, trust your instincts, and never settle for anything less than the love you deserve. Number 5 point. Change in circumstances or life situation. We've all been there. The feeling of rejection, the hurt of someone walking away after a deep emotional connection. When someone rejects you, it can feel like a door has been slammed shut, leaving you with unanswered questions. But as time passes, sometimes that same person who once turned you away comes back into your life. It's confusing, frustrating, and leaves you wondering why. What changed? Why the sudden shift? One of the most common reasons someone might come back after rejecting you is a change in their life circumstances. Life is unpredictable, and we all go through different phases where our priorities, situations, and emotions evolve. The very thing that led them to reject you in the first place might no longer be a factor in their decision-making. In some cases, it's not about you at all, but rather about them. When someone rejects you, it could be because they were dealing with personal struggles, difficult circumstances, or even feelings of insecurity that they weren't ready to confront. But as their life situation changes, they might find themselves in a position where they have more clarity or emotional readiness to pursue what they once turned away from. Maybe they were going through a tough time in their life, a challenging job, personal loss, family issues, or simply feeling lost in their own journey. These circumstances could have clouded their judgment and made them push away a connection that, under different conditions, could have been perfect. People's minds and hearts change over time, and as life circumstances shift, so do their feelings and perspectives. Perhaps they've learned something new about themselves or gone through a personal transformation that makes them ready to embrace what they once rejected. This could come after a period of self-reflection, growth, or even after seeing you move on and find happiness in your own life. Seeing you thrive, seeing you become someone they didn't expect, might be the catalyst that makes them realize what they lost and that they are now in a better place to try again. It could be a new job that gives them more stability, a change in their living situation that brings them closer to you, or a time when they feel more confident about who they are and what they want in a relationship. At the same time, life can be unpredictable, and timing often plays a crucial role in relationships. When you first met, maybe they weren't ready for a serious commitment, or they simply weren't in the right headspace to understand how much you meant to them. Now, with new circumstances and a clearer vision, they might see you in a new light. They may recognize that the time apart allowed them to grow, and they now see you as someone they want to invest in emotionally. This doesn't mean they didn't care before. It simply means that circumstances have evolved, and they are in a different place now. One where they are ready to take a chance on you and the connection you share. Life has a way of shifting things around, and when the timing aligns, people may find their way back to the relationships that were once put on hold. If someone comes back after rejecting you, it's important to consider what's changed in their life. Have they grown emotionally? Have they gone through personal challenges that made them realize what they want? The change in circumstances or life situation could be the very thing that brings them back to you. But it's equally important to evaluate whether you're in the right place to embrace them again. People change, yes, but so do you. Whether you choose to give them another chance depends on your own growth, the lessons you've learned, and what feels right for you now. Love isn't just about timing, it's about understanding, growth, and the ability to meet each other at the right moment, with both hearts ready to give what's needed. So if they come back, consider how far you've come and what you've both learned along the way. Number 6 point, fear of missing out. Have you ever experienced that painful moment when someone rejects you, only for them to come back later, acting as if nothing happened? It's confusing, hurtful, and can leave you wondering why they even left in the first place. The truth is, the reasons people come back after rejecting you are complex, and sometimes it has less to do with you and more to do with their own emotions and fears. In this video, we're going to dive deep into one of the key reasons why someone might come back after rejecting you: the fear of missing out, or FOMO. It's a phenomenon that might seem puzzling, but once you understand it, things will start to make a lot more sense. When someone rejects you, it feels like a door has slammed shut, leaving you with a million unanswered questions. Yet, months or even weeks later, that very same person might reach out, sending you texts, calling you, or even trying to rekindle the connection. This sudden shift often leaves you stunned, unsure of what's really happening. It may seem like they're playing games with your emotions, but there's a deeper psychological reason behind their actions: fear of missing out. FOMO is a powerful force, and it affects all of us in different ways. When someone rejects you, they might be walking away from something they think they don't need, but as time goes by, they start to see things in a different light. They begin to realize that the connection you shared was more valuable than they initially thought. The life they built without you may feel empty, and suddenly, the prospect of losing that connection feels like something they can't bear. The fear of missing out doesn't always come with a clear and conscious awareness. It might start with small feelings of longing, curiosity, or even jealousy when they see you moving on or becoming successful without them. The more they see your life thriving without them, the more they begin to question their decision to reject you in the first place. It's not that they didn't care for you or that they didn't see your value initially. It's just that they couldn't fully appreciate it at the time. Now, they fear losing out on something that could have been incredibly important in their life, but they were too blind to see it back then. This fear starts to creep in, and they realize that the absence of you in their life isn't just a void, it's a hole that needs to be filled. As much as they might have thought they were fine without you, the thought of missing out on the connection, the love, or the comfort you brought into their life begins to eat at them. It's not always about you being perfect or them needing closure. Sometimes it's the simple fact that they didn't realize what they had until it was gone. When they see that you're thriving and moving forward without them, it can trigger a rush of emotions, making them realize that they might have let go of something too soon. This is when the fear of missing out takes center stage. They come back not out of pure love or regret, but because they fear the loss of something that, in their mind, could have been something special. They might come back to rekindle what was once there, only to realize that the very fear that brought them back might not be enough to sustain a healthy, long-lasting relationship. In the end, the fear of missing out is just one of many reasons someone might return after rejecting you. While it can feel validating, it's important to remember that the motivations behind their actions are complex. The decision to reconnect with someone who rejected you isn't always about love. It can stem from a place of fear, insecurity, or the realization that they didn't truly understand what they had until they lost it. And while it's natural to want closure or answers, the most important thing is to focus on yourself and your own growth. Whether they return or not, the journey forward is yours to take. When someone comes back after rejecting you, it's crucial to evaluate if they truly understand what they're asking for, or if they're simply seeking to satisfy their own fears and insecurities. Your worth is not defined by their return. It's defined by the strength you find in moving forward, regardless of whether they come back or not. Number 7 point. Unresolved feelings. Have you ever been rejected by someone only to have them come back into your life later? It can be confusing and leave you wondering why. One key reason for this is unresolved feelings. Sometimes when someone rejects you, it doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they weren't ready to deal with their emotions. Over time, those feelings don't disappear. In fact, they can grow stronger, especially when the person reflects on the connection you shared. As they spend time away, they start to realize what they lost or what they didn't fully understand at the time. Regret, confusion, and a sense of longing can bring them back, hoping to rekindle something that was left unresolved. They may not have been sure of their feelings before, but with time, they come to understand the importance of what you shared, and that's why they seek a second chance. While it's natural to feel flattered or hopeful when they return, it's important to take your time and evaluate their true intentions. Are they returning because they've worked through their emotions? Or is it just because they've realized they made a mistake? Unresolved feelings can drive people back into your life, but it's essential to decide what's best for you and if you can trust them not to walk away again. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video helped shed some light on why someone might come back after rejecting you. Whether it's due to realizing what they lost, nostalgia, or unresolved feelings, understanding these reasons can give you clarity and help you move forward with confidence. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our future content. And as always, feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.